My Zoom just froze. I don't know if you can hear me. Where am I? My Zoom just froze. There I am. Hi. Hi everybody. Sorry, my yeah. No, I think you hit it up the head. My name's Mark Davey. Good evening. Hi everybody. Hi. I guess I'll keep talking since there's an echo. Um, my name's Mark Davey. I've been with SRPC for 4.5 years. I have been tasked with co-leading the regional plan here at SRPC. I think Jen hit the nail on the head with the structure of our transportation economic development and our main regional plan. So, in conversing with residents out in some outreach events throughout the summer and fall, it became really apparent to the project team that people want to know what's going on next door. People want to talk about the things that transcend municipal boundaries, like commuting and watersheds and all that good stuff. So that's why we're here tonight. You guys muted yourselves?
Wait, hold on. There we go. Okay.
Can you
I
go
can hear you
up?
now.
All right, I think there's a good book called The Goal. About
Do we have a
technology
mouse
and
for
and
that
all this
computer?
stuff, and how you have skinny humans. They're falling into.
Oh, okay.
Should I go let them know?
All right then.
No, people are engineers who go.
They don't want to see me anyway.
I just unmuted it again. Okay.
Well,
I think he's doing it.
I have a question. If
Yeah.
neighboring towns wondering what's going on,
Thanks, man.
where are they?
Yeah, I was messing around with things today.
Well, when was the last you went to a planning board meeting in a neighboring town?
I go to Portsmouth.
Okay.
I would say it's a little further than,
Yeah,
you know,
outside the region.
but it's a growing.
Yeah. All right, so one of the first questions, and maybe Mark will just
I think it's good.
minimize the back and
Audio
forth
is
between
going
you and I,
which is
and
going
have you in the teaching mode, which is not that exciting.
I have signal.
So one of the first questions that we've been asking boards, and not just planning boards, but throughout the outreach is how would you describe the community identity? And I think for Wakefield, if I'm an Adventist, if you're closer Lakes region than some of the communities to the south. I think that's one of the things we've heard and kind of grapple with is like, we're not quite the seacoast, we're not quite the Lakes region, we're that area that people drive between the two. And that just doesn't sound so fun. I don't know. So kind of putting it out there as like, how would you describe your community's identity?
So I can start, and I'm just gonna say here, my opinion on some of these might be completely different from other board members, and that's all good.
Yeah.
So I would consider us, especially with 7 lakes in town, that we are part of the Lakes region. I think we're probably more of a quiet bedroom community. Certainly some things that have come up recently, I think people want peace and quiet here. More than not, I think people come here, probably a lot of retirement, folks retire up in this area. So I guess a rural bedroom community might be a good description.
It's more rural than anything.
Yeah,
And there's nothing wrong with that.
No?
I would agree with the rural feel. It may not be farming community, or what, rural, but it has a rural feel. A small town feel, it's small villages, there's no big population centers. But it has a significant, really not tourism so much as a summer, but not a winter. Population that, so they're not tourists, they're not here for a day or a week, they're here for vacation, a significant vacation.
I would say, I would disagree with you about the winter, because I think this is people pretty much almost as busy as we are in the winter, as we are in the summer. The population of people in the summer, like over the winter. I don't disagree with you. I'm amongst that kind of crowd, and I can tell you that, the establishments, and I look at the restaurants and all the things, the places people go, they're extremely busy. Now, that occurs if we have the right season, such as we have enough snow, because I think the snowmobile population here is huge.
I guess what I meant is we're not like North Conway with the ski, that's.
That's also a lot of ski there too.
I get it, the snowmobile, because of the rural character and lots of open land, the snowmobile potential is great.
And the fishing.
Yeah, but kind of the Charlie's point, there isn't any businesses that shut down in the winter, except for this Wakefield Diner, and that's just happened recently, in the past couple of years, and it's not because of anything except for like this sometime. Like in Congo, a lot of places
But I would
shut
say,
down.
that we're definitely retiring. It just seems that that's where we are.
So I feel bad,
I
but
would
now I
describe
feel
it as looking at our own
just a small town.
community. I don't like to think that
You
we
never know. You never know.
compare us
It's,
to.
not working on it, I mean,
Very
like I
much
said,
our own.
tonight, I didn't have my cable switch.
Exactly. God, and Wakefield is
Exactly.
exactly.
I love that.
I think a lot of the towns are similar though. I mean, if you're sitting here in Middleton,
Lee knows anything about the
people in Middleton probably have a very similar opinion. Hey, and that's true of
Yeah, it's that little
small
thing with the
towns,
antennas all
smaller
work
towns in rural areas.
Yeah, no, I was kind of panicking. Because
They all think of
we were
their
supposed to run
hometown
streams
as,
at
hey,
once.
this is the best
So
place.
he was gonna
This
be
is
on,
different.
I would say Wakefield is a step back in
and
time.
cast this.
One to go to, so it's,
certain aspects of it.
that's what I've always thought, is that this town can still to this day,
Well,
this is what the step, and that's,
But, you know,
it's great to have that.
I'd be the first one to all pissed off if somebody else was doing this. I mean, like seeing it go from him,
Imagine
you
that.
know, pissed off. And
If they go outside, you know, you gotta get them out there first.
Well,
They're out there
Yeah,
now,
I
I see them out there.
I
walking.
didn't even know I was broken, like I said.
Does that help?
That helps, that's my next question. All right, so
All
for us, you're the northernmost point of our region. And the region kind of goes all the way down to Newmarket, the furthest south. Furthest west is about Northland Nottingham. So within that kind of context, what would you see your role within the larger region as?
Right.
In my opinion, I don't want us to be, I want us to be our own. I don't consider those towns anything less
Well,
than that.
well, soon we'll become a dumping ground for those towns. That's what we'll do, once we update our lagoons, that's what we'll be to our communities.
See, I think as a whole, I don't know if I think of us as, I think of us as our own identity. I don't wanna be compared to Northwood or Wakefield, because I don't think we are anything like those communities.
What about, for example, like, where do most folks who live in Wakefield work?
We all make mistakes. Some of us.
Yes, we don't allow them to live.
Exactly.
So that would be part of the role, so it's part of Wakefield's role is it's a place where people live.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it also a place maybe where people come for recreation and enjoyment? Because think about, like, you know, no one stays perfectly within their town boundaries. Everyone ventures outside of their town boundaries. I'm not gonna tell you how many towns I'm gonna drive through today. So when we think about it in that regard, in terms of people who are in Wakefield who go other places versus people who are elsewhere and come here, what are those relationships?
We're a big outdoor recreation town. We have the snowmobilers that come all winter long, ice fishing goes on there,
Hunting.
everything's up, we didn't get filled with rec center,
It is, but again, if we had some development around Route 16 or something, we may not have to have all that. You know, and I get that we want to stay like we are, I'm okay with that. But I'm just saying, the reason why people go south, if they work, is because there's nothing here for them to do. And I'm okay with, with that, because this is how it's always been, and I'm, pretty content on how it is.
and you have to drive a half an hour either way to go to the grocery store.
To go to work.
And that's never changed in, I don't know how many years, a long time. We only had one market.
But we've had opportunities where they could come, it's just that we don't have the population to support these things.
Yeah.
And I get that.
Well, the current zoning too is not conducive to development on 16. There's a lot of residential property that borders on 16. There's limited places where anybody could build anything of size. Also, I think we're lacking better term, kind of vested both worlds. We are kind of like lakes region because we have lots of lakes, so we have some similarity with them. To the north. But we also are more insular. We're down unto itself. People travel south, but they're willing to drive. They're willing to drive an hour one direction. The original
They were playing
cars,
it's
it's,
yeah.
they like the community,
Tires
it's
on that cattle.
the villages, it's
One
the,
last.
that rural feel. And so, hey, I'll put up with the traffic and drive down 16 and go all the way past Portsmouth, maybe even to Massachusetts.
Well, they're figuring that hour and 20 minutes time that you can make it from here to there, as for sitting in the traffic for an hour and 20 minutes when you're already there, you know? So, I've noticed that since the pandemic. Since the pandemic, you'll find that we haven't had any kind of census, but if I was to guess, I bet we've gone up 1,500 to 2,000 residents, where people are willing to go from here to Massachusetts to work, because of the traffic
That's my favorite thing living up here, is I can drive almost 45 minutes without seeing any lights, any traffic at all. I would never trade that.
So another thing that I'll just, anybody want to mention is Wakefield, has low taxes. And so that's something that I think we strive to keep that, and that might draw some people here. Also, the other thing, this is my opinion, and maybe not the opinion of everyone, but the more commercial development that you may allow has a very good chance of only increasing your taxes. So there's people I know that used to live in Somersworth, and Somersworth started to get built out. And then there's more population, and there's more kids in schools, and everybody's in
Even
school.
Dover. People have moved to Wakefield from Dover because of property taxes.
Right. And so, to me, that's, there is a question, but anyways, just, like, to me, that's something that, we should, or are keeping in mind.
If you brought up that 50 minutes, doesn't show the school, population.
No, because that's because I believe it's a retired community. They're not bringing the children. The children's not there. It's just people, their children are all grown up and they're just realizing that they really don't have to be south. They just want to be here amongst their lake house. They already own here.
So,
They're just realizing they can live in it.
so that's what I was gonna add. Like, my suspicion is there's a lot more people living here full time. It doesn't necessarily mean that there's been 500 new homes built. There's been more, but I think some of that more year-round population is they're staying. They're not. This isn't just a summer vacation home. They might have moved here permanently.
These homes are changing into permanent homes.
Yes.
Instead of vacation.
Right.
So I've been coming to Wakefield. I've lived here for over 20 years now. 28 or 7, that's my 75th year.
This is my first training.
When I came back,
Dominican Republic girl.
even in the summer, if
I really
you
understand
would
it.
walk out your door and
She's
you look
speaking
across the
English.
lake at Midtown,
Okay, so Trevor,
you couldn't see anything.
I'm gonna sit here, just sit right on top of
10 years ago.
Happy when.
And
That's
then
a
over
lot of
there,
stick shift you grab in
maybe
there.
there'd be one light that you would see.
Right.
Now,
Yeah.
there's lights year round.
I don't mean.
So that's, I would agree with you, Charlie. I think it may be that some people still don't consider this to be their legal residence, but they're here 12 months a year, whereas they used to be here 4 months a
Actually,
year.
all seasons.
Because of the pandemic, a lot of people came up here and worked from home,
Yeah.
and then.
Never went home, we're going back.
Well, that's what I'm saying, they realize that they can stay here and there's no difference in travel because they're sitting in traffic for 2 hours when they're 20 minutes away as they are to just travel from here to home.
And I think working from home, a lot of people do it now, and I think that,
I think property tax is probably gonna be the biggest reason that people wanna leave these densely populated areas where the property tax is just ridiculous and it continues to grow. And where we're trying to become the lowest property tax in the state.
Yeah.
We encourage people to leave.
very attractive.
So one of the things we can't necessarily capture is, conversion of seasonal homes to year-round residences. So that presents a challenge for actually measuring and estimating population change. So the only time we get 100% counts is when we have the decennial census. So we know that in 2020, the population of Wakefield was 5,201. When the state makes estimates, annual estimates of population, they are using a variety of different data sources, but it's generally coming
I just started to clean out that
and
in there,
creating
so
some
I
estimates
have my buddy
on
coming down next
growth
week.
based on building permits.
Let me know
So
when
the
that
2024 population estimate for Wakefield was 5,328. So that's only, 100 and change additional people. But the challenge is we can't measure where folks may have turned a seasonal residence into a year-round residence, and there might be additional growth there, but we won't be able to know until 2030, and that's a challenge anywhere.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What is the goal of
I mean, that's
this?
kind of the other thing.
Of the regional plan?
No, of this, transportation economic, what you guys are going
Sure.
around and talking to people.
Yeah,
What is the goal, the 5-year goal?
So we don't know what the goal is yet, that's why we're talking to people. So part of like the
Is
outreach.
it growth?
It's under the.
It could be.
It could be, but that's part of it. So Steve represents Wakefield at the planning commission. So as we go through and we go through the process of what we hear, one of the next steps that staff are gonna be taking is the notes from all these planning board conversations. Staff have also gone through every master plan in the region, although we know that some of those are very outdated, and so that is kind of noted where they are old. Additionally, we've had some outreach and engagement events at different larger events over the summer and fall. And before that, we had a large survey that was pushed out. I think I shared that here at a meeting. So that would take all of that information and kind of smush it all together to try and identify where there are themes and commonalities that people are citing. So from there, we do not set local land use policy. Our objective is to understand what the 18 communities collectively want to see us doing moving forward. For us as the planning commission, it helps us to shape the services that we in turn provide for communities. So the last time we did this was a little over 10 years ago. One of the key things that came out of that was a keen interest in municipalities that we do more or provide more services in water resource protection. So since then, we've done Sunrise Lake Watershed Management Plan, we're wrapping up the Milton Three Ponds Watershed Management Plan, worked with different communities to, that have had different water quality projects that they wanted to move forward. Northwood, we just finished some septic study to look at and identify where there might be risks associated with septic systems for water quality pollution. A lot of different things like that. And so it kind of tells us where to invest money. It also lets us know that, oh, you know what, this community really wants to move this forward. We've got the resources and capacity that we can help with that, and then we'll partner up. And if we have multiple communities that are interested in things, we'll get together. So that's part of it. For the long-range transportation plan, it's actually the basis that determines where your federal dollars go. So when you think about your, Carol, you were just at the 10-year plan hearings, the GASA hearing. I was spying on you from Zoom land, that's kind of like the next step in the process. We start with the long-range transportation plan, starting to understand like what are the transportation improvement priorities across the region, and we start thinking big picture, like what might be things that we need to do 20 years from now to maintain our transportation system and to keep it safe. Those projects then get refined. They move forward towards the state's 10-year plan, and then from there they move forward to our federal highways 4-year transportation improvement program. That's when the dollars go to the road. So that's kind of that first step in directing those federal funds and how that investment gets made. On the comprehensive economic development strategy side of it, that is, because we're a recognized economic development district, there are funds from the Economic Development Administration that can be used to move forward bricks and mortar economic development projects on the ground. How do you get those projects to get funded? Make sure you're in that comprehensive economic development strategy. So again, it looks at what are the priorities for the region, what are the needs for the region, and then we start identifying projects to list in there. So right now, we're still at that, like, what are the needs and priorities phase of the
And these are
conversation.
projects that staff is planning will be leading up.
Not necessarily on either side. We act as the conduit of the funnel.
Or you might help support.
We might help
Right.
support, we might help implement, or we might just be the one who says to the federal agency, yes, they are consistent with the comprehensive economic development strategy, they are thus eligible for this funding pool. So it all depends on what it is. So, talking about priorities, if I were to ask you all, what are your priorities for housing, land use and the environment, transportation, and economic development? What would you say your priorities are?
That's a master plan.
Okay,
So I would say for housing, we are not going to have to do anything with regard to, lakefront property.
I don't think so.
Being developed, redeveloped, and that's driven by the value of.
Have a great night.
I'm sorry that it took long.
However,
And I'm glad I started thinking about these freaking.
everyone would like to see.
No, you're all good. Okay, so next time let me know, and I'll
I will.
hopefully help you a little bit. Yeah. Yeah, if you want, sorry, I mean, I know you're trying to head out. This next time too, just give me like a rough time and date when you're gonna return as well, just so I don't know. Cool.
So I'm taking on Monday. I return on Tuesday, 3 months later.
Well, you know what I'm saying.
You're not gonna see affordable building
So,
in an area like this, because it's not directed for that. This is, it says you have a piece of property here, the value of it is incredible. And I
What's
see
that?
every
so
day.
you turn it out for 48 hours.
It's gone up.
So you should probably put something on there.
Even if it's not on the,
Not on the
That's
water.
right.
even if it's not on the water, I'm telling you right now, the value of land and property around here, it's such short demand now. It's in such high demand because it's such short, there's nothing left. I've been here for 59 years, and I have seen where the average home was $200,000 now, and it's 500.
Yeah, in like the last, not
In the
that
last
many
10
years.
years.
Yeah, yeah.
Just the last 10 years.
And growing, that's.
So that's not affordable. If you take a payment on a mortgage for $500,000, that's a $3,000 mortgage at least, right? To probably $4,000 in today's interest. How does a young couple afford that? So I don't even think that we even need to think about housing.
So we gotta
because
stop
it's not-
talking about it, because every time we have a housing discussion, it's, we need to attract young families into town and
You're
then.
never gonna do it, not in
So,
a town like this.
so then we ought to stop talking about it.
Yeah, the outskirts of the towns may do it, but Wakefield seems to be that one that jumps, and it's not so much a rich town as it is just a very, I think it's a higher standard town. I don't think it's
I
ever
think
gonna
it's
see
location.
Yeah, so,
I think Wakefield is in a perfect position for somebody who wants to live here. It's easy to get down to the seacoast, it's easy to get into Portsmouth, it's easy to get to 495 if you've got to go that far. But Conway is right up the road.
You know, off the building,
Ski
bustle and
areas
bustle,
are an hour away.
chaos.
No,
So,
I think you're, like you said, we're in a perfect location, but that's what I say, I don't think it's ever gonna be an affordable area for housing.
I stand corrected, and I agree with you. For land use, I think that's what is the most in people's minds, land use and the environment. I think every time we have anything that comes before the planning board that impacts the environment or land use, you get a room full of people. That's very high interest. Of all those four, I think that's the one that people will come out and talk about the most. Transportation, I think the big issue for this, for us here, that travel back and forth on 16 because we have to, because there's no other way to go, really.
I think that's the
Safety.
only, I think that's the
Safety.
only thing about transportation that we have an involvement with, is Route 16 is such a, it's such a cluster. I think there's a tremendous amount of issues with that road.
Well, particularly the single, where it's 2 lanes, one in each
Right.
direction.
Right.
From Rochester north, I mean, if you're at 4 o'clock or 8 o'clock in the morning, you've got a steady stream of cars coming at you, at 75 miles an hour. It's scary. I personally, I'm on 145. I stay off of 16 religiously, and I know lots of people do that now, and that's new. And it's people don't feel safe with the amount of traffic that 2-lane road is handling.
Now, we know you've got an issue when you've got traffic that's literally backed up for 15 miles on a Sunday at 11 o'clock in the morning. The traffic is so backed up from Irving completely to the center Ossipee village of Route 25.
Right,
There,
yeah.
that's an everyday, that's an every weekend occurrence.
Right, the traffic lights
Of
just,
course, on that, a small strip road where accidents happen all the time.
Yeah.
It's kind of an interesting thing, because I drive the road every morning at 5 o'clock. I'm on the road heading south.
Yeah.
And there seems to be more cars coming north than they're going south. So I guess that whole thing about people traveling south for work, that's where more money is, for sure, but I don't know if it's really necessarily true.
Maybe they're working at night.
Well, maybe they are. Maybe, yeah, 5
That's a good
o'clock's a
point.
weird time to get out of a third shift,
Well,
though.
nurses and doctors, they
Yeah.
could be working.
Yes. But there is, you have to have 2 cars up here.
But I
You know,
listened to,
You have to be independent.
like Jim said, I went to the 10-year, this thing, the DOT, about a month ago, 3 weeks ago. And, they started to tell me about this 10-year plan, and I kinda, my exact words was, I don't really believe in the 10-year plan. If you told me a couple of years, it'd be different, but every time you turn around, 5 years comes, 10 years comes, and they're gonna do this big thing, well, nobody's getting money now.
It's very interesting because the federal government wants to invest in these things right now. These are big pushes from them to invest in. That's why I asked what the
It
goal
is,
was.
but it's already, they're already deducting money.
Yeah.
Okay, they're already canceling out all these 10-year plans,
Mhm.
and they're canceling, I watched it, and there's millions of dollars that have been taken away from some of these things, and, I just think it's sometimes.
Charlie, I can, for everyone else's benefit, I can explain that a little bit. So the 10-year plan, State Department of Transportation puts that together. They have projects that are kind of the standard ongoing operations and maintenance for the state highway system. Think any road that's a numbered route, but then there are also some roads, as you know, in town that are state roads that are not necessarily numbered roads, so those as well. So there's all of those operations and maintenance projects. There are then safety improvements that are needed. There are then projects that are generated by municipalities and go to the planning commission through the long-range plan process and eventually work their way through there as well. It's a whole range of different projects are in the 10-year plan. the 10-year plan is supposed to be fiscally constrained. Every 2 years, they go through and reevaluate everything in the 10-year plan, update it, add new things in years 9 and 10 as things kind of come, move out. So this iteration of it, as DOT went through and was kind of looking at that fiscal constraint, with the costs that have increased on projects, so materials and labor costs. So those cost increases, natural projecting of inflation is now higher, and all of those factors, now the plan, without adding any new projects to it, those projects have to get pushed out because the plan is now short $400 million. Or it's over programmed by $400 million. Right. So what they had to do is then figure out, okay, well, how do we decide what stays, what goes? And so there are some projects where they want to make sure that, should there be money available in the future, they can take advantage of it. So one of the things New Hampshire does well is that when other states do not move forward on projects in a timely basis, they basically lose their money. And DOT, the federal highways folks, then says, who's ready? And New Hampshire is great at gobbling those dollars up and making sure they have projects ready in the queue. So they want to make sure that they're still positioned to capture those dollars and any other resources that come up along the way. But in the meantime, yeah, it's $400 million short.
Let me interest you in this is your 10-year plan don't include Wakefield at all.
Really?
Really?
Like,
Yeah.
We're not on the plan.
No.
so there's
do you have
nothing.
any
We have, I think there's a little bit of tarring going to happen on
Yeah.
153. And that's gonna be from the intersection, down to the I believe the H scale and a little bit of 153. But, like I said, Wakefield's name is not on any of that list.
So just from a curiosity standpoint, is there anything like south of Wakefield as far as expanding 16, like coming north out of Rochester?
Not till you get to 95. And 95 and 93 have
Route
some
11.
things. Have
There's a
some
project
things.
on Route 11, I know.
Okay. All right, that's.
But
Wakefield's not on the list.
I
And in
can,
fact, there's one in particular group I can think of that these all align with the federal dollars that you could apply to get those federal dollars from. And wouldn't need to be part of that 10-year plan. The federal money.
She's right.
wouldn't even
well,
like-
any of the transportation projects would have to go through this process.
Yeah.
But
I will say that, I went to that meeting because of the intersection by Thomas. That we're having such a bad time there and the last week we had another accident there that took 5 people to the hospital. We had a death there, not too long ago. That intersection has 13 accidents in the last 3 years. So I went there to express myself for the town sake, and I have to say that I must have caught some attention because they've been here. They were here yesterday. I met with them yesterday up there, and my exact words, the exact words that were said to me was, "We're on it," and you caught our attention.
good. So Colin, who you met at that hearing,
Yeah.
he's always your resource.
Yeah,
So
he's the one I saw yesterday.
yeah, good. So yeah, he'll
And I
he'll
saw
move things forward.
Dave did something.
Okay.
They were surveying that for 5 years.
So
So they were surveying it, they were assessing it yesterday, and I saw them, so I made it a point to stop, and have a conversation with them,
yeah.
and they knew who I was, and I think I struck some attention.
No, it's good because I know, so Colin was explaining to me that, so that location, for everyone else's benefit, because of the significant safety concerns at that location, DOT did do what's called a road safety audit there. And then following the completion of the road safety audit, they're supposed to be moving forward some of the recommendations for it. And it stalled. And so that is what
Step back
we
in time.
kind of give DOT. And that gives us a different pool of money as well, so, which is nice, so that it would still end up in the 10-year plan, but right now, So what it is there's like a big lump sum, like call it a parent project, and then it will have child projects. So if something were to happen there, it wouldn't be listed exclusively as Wakefield necessarily. It'd be like a child project of the HSIP
Because
program.
we don't have a lot of attraction for workforce.
Oh, that doesn't
but
matter.
see, I went through this with them, and they said that we would have this, audit said that this
Yeah.
could be part of a 10-year plan, maybe they put a circle out there or something, and a circle's not gonna
No.
work, it's an industrial highway, and you don't put a circle on
I
it.
guess-
But my point is your 10-year plan doesn't work. It shouldn't take this, and again, my thing is how many people does it take? How many people have to die or get injured before we respond? That was my point of my presentation. And,
Right.
and
And the HSIP dollars basically get to cut the line, is what happens. And so the goal is here is, and you know, Colin, this is Colin's like favorite program area. So
They seem very
Yeah.
interested and I have their attention.
yeah,
So I actually think something's gonna happen. And I gave them as our board, our recommendations of something very simple and very cost effective, you know. Let's just say, I can't imagine what we asked them to do would cost more than 10,000, so say. And they're talking about the 10-year plan of the $3, $4, $5 million
No.
circles and things, and I'm saying, it ain't gonna happen. It's too far ahead of you, and the time you get there, we're gonna be going through every 10 years, the economy slows down, and then we go back in and we're gonna cancel, and it's just hogwash. Again, how many people does it take? Just give me a number. How many people are gonna wait to get hurt, you know?
Yeah.
And I think that got their attention.
yes,
They've been there.
Yeah, it is.
I guess my comment wasn't about that in particular thing. It was about federal funding, and some of these things, is we don't attract the workforce here. It's really difficult to get new people to move here, to get
Again,
new funding.
it all depends on what the intent of the program and the funding is. So I wouldn't
Well, a lot of
worry
those
about that and how that.
federal dollars,
I will note, so on,
because I've been going to some of these things recently.
Yeah.
And trying to get some of that money.
Yeah.
And sitting with Northern Borders and other groups as well.
yeah,
And that's a big thing right now, in order to become top priority on that list, is somehow you're attracting a workforce. Is it not?
it all depends on the program. It all depends on the program. I will say on the 10-year plan, there is one Wakefield project in it.
What is it?
It is the replacement of the Maple Street Bridge over the Branch River.
Yep.
And that is $2.75 million.
I've lived here for 25 years, it's been on the agenda ever since I moved to town.
We could have got the money.
It's not gonna happen.
Yeah,
So it's in there.
it's
It's
a
in
water,
2034
it's
though.
actually a watershed that you can get the money for, because that's the Branch River Reservoir.
I know, and the state's been telling us that we need to pay for it. That's how this works. I hope you understand that no matter what project comes, and the town has to pay for it, and then hopefully they get reimbursed, and it takes 10 years to get it. So don't even count on it.
It's, let's see, preliminary engineering and right-of-way is stated bridge dollars, and I don't know what that acronym
And
is.
we've already got a bunch of quotes for that, you know, and we're talking $1 million. It's just not.
All right. Economic development,
So,
priorities in
I have
economic
one comment
development.
about economic development. Everybody's in favor of economic development as long as it meets the character, however you define that,
Yeah.
of the community. And so,
Oh,
do we differ from the next question? I think yes, because if you ride up 16 from here, there's lots of development along 16 and none in Wakefield. And that's, I don't know if it's by design, but it's by desire, I think.
Well, I think, again, you know, you head towards Ospey where you see all this development happening like that strip, you know, like Shop and Save and stuff, but I think Ospey has chosen to allow more than we have chosen. But we are also, and I'm not saying that I'm completely correct, but we actually only have 7 lots on Route 16 that could actually be developed into commercial. That's our commercial area, and some of these lots would take such money to develop that you would only get things like Walmart, those kinds of things, and I just don't think that they consider Wakefield, that could sustain a living there. We don't have enough thing where you go 20 minutes south, you have one. So.
And our zoning wouldn't allow anything that large.
Yeah, 'cause
Exactly.
you don't have a lot of room for growth.
No, so
In other
that's
words,
not
say
gonna happen.
Wakefield.
So, if I don't like it,
Aside from the fact that people would like to see their taxes go down, that's the way they want it.
Yeah.
They don't want to see industrial, commercial growth, because that means that we're no longer this community, rural community of villages that to some degree is no longer really true, but it's what everybody has in their heads.
It's kind of funny, isn't it, to watch the economic growth come up, and then it basically stops at Milton. Like Rochester
Jumps up.
used to have nothing. Used to have Walmart, right? And Harley Davidson used to be there, that was it. You know, now you have a Lowe's, you have all these different stores, and that growth has stopped at Milton. And that's great. I think it is, because I love.
Well, they've always skipped us.
Yeah.
Wakefield has always gotten skipped because we're off to the right side of it. It's a steady path through it, and then you get to Ospey, and then you slow down, and then there's everything, you know?
Well, Dollar General tried to come into town, and I've never seen so many people in one building, and outside the building, you say no. Of course, they wanted to use the Sanborn house, so that wasn't.
People did not want that kind of a store
And
in the village.
But we'll take it Humvees.
They had it over the meeting of the public safety building.
Oh, we're gonna stay the same the way we are.
That's right. I mean, where do you grow? On the aquifer? You know?
All right, Ms. Booth.
All right, almost there. We've kind of talked about how you do or don't align with neighboring communities. Do you want to mention anything else there?
I don't think we align at all.
No, we don't.
But sometimes
We don't want
that
it,
can be a
exactly.
benefit though.
Right.
That's the outlaw town
If you're
part
a
of it.
bedroom community,
By
Yeah.
design.
Yes,
you work,
exactly.
you work outside, right?
We like making
That
Mark
can
go
be a
up there and ring
benefit.
the
You're still a
bell.
quiet community, but you can go to the seacoast, you can go to Ossipee for your shopping, but you don't have that in your own town. So that can be a benefit to stay different from your neighboring cities and towns.
Traffic.
Okay. Before we kind sort of talked about goals, I guess if it's just say, any of the things that we talked about here tonight, or anything else, is there anything in particular that's kind of enabling or hindering the progress that you would like to see in the community? Other than DOT?
So, I don't know if
That's
this is
DOT,
necessarily
is,
hindering.
you know, fix a road, plow the road, yeah. They
So-
come all the way from Conway almost to plow.
So we've talked a bit, from time to time, we talk about how valuable the lakes are in this community and how valuable those are to keeping the tax base high, the tax rate low. And so are there goals that the town should be protecting those as much as they are, or more than maybe they are, possibly?
I think we just sit back in our little homes and
Yeah.
we have a community that cares and works hard, and we just wait for something to come along like Dollar General, and then we
Shoot it down.
exactly, jump on board.
So that's interesting that you say that, because maybe something that is, that we should be looking at is, what do we want Wakefield to be? And how do we want to make sure that we're either moving towards that or that we're staying where that is, right? Because there's things that somebody can come in and maybe a loophole in zoning and put something in that maybe we wouldn't want. And are there opportunities for us to be ensuring that we are, I guess, helping to determine what may come or not?
We're looking at staying like we are.
I think, yeah,
Small business.
Yeah.
You want small business, you want small things. I mean, this town needs a pharmacy. That would be, that would be a big idea. But you can't, when you have a pharmacy, you have to have the Mount Park pharmacy. We used to have a pharmacy right across the street.
Yeah.
It was the Mount Park pharmacy, but now you get these governments come in and it changes the whole dynamics. I don't want government. I want people to be able to have small, I want people to be able to make a living, but be more community oriented, because that's what we are. I believe we stick together, just like you just said.
Money
How
doesn't
many
mean
people come out in that store, kid? Who the hell wants the Dollar General here? You know what I'm saying? It's just I mean, I don't think it's any kind of store that I would want a small town to have. If you want that out on the highway, so be it, you know?
What happened to the pharmacy?
I think it just got put out by Rite Aids and Walgreens and.
Now they're all closing.
And we even
Now
lost,
they're all closing.
and we even lost the medical bill,
Yeah,
you know?
right.
So I mean,
Yeah,
the
that-
big thing,
that
the
was a
reason
big
you
one.
lose that is because you don't have that kind of population to support those things.
Population.
Yeah, and we're not trying to encourage it to grow to 12,000 either.
That's why you stay in retirement community where people retire here and enjoy it and support it.
And go down south.
Last question. What are you most excited for in your community near and long-term future?
I think I told you.
Keeping
Just
everything
not-
exactly
exactly
the way
same
it
it
is
is.
now.
Exactly.
That's what we're excited about.
so maybe as part of that could be more conservation in town.
Okay.
It could be, you know, looking at ensuring that we keep our lakes healthy. To me, those could be important things.
We have great,
Very important.
we have a lot of natural resources here in
I
town.
appreciate it.
Yes.
You know, that's one of the biggest things that we have in this town is natural resources.
Yeah.
And not only that, we basically have the rights to those natural resources. We'll continue to gobble up more. That way when they have a drought somewhere and they need water, they'll just come in here and take ours. Run out of feet to Wakefield.
Those are all my questions. I need to pause and just see if Mark had anything else.
We're a tough crowd.
No, this was really informative. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank
Appreciate that. All right, next on the agenda, we do have some correspondence from the town of Effingham. A letter regards to some correspondence that Vertex is having with Effingham. It sounds like they're having some fun with Mr. Perot.
Sounded like the meetings we had that were.
Yeah,
They don't have any of that?
I mean,
I thought we were pretty much, isn't this the gang thing here, or they're not gonna do it anymore?
No.
I'm gonna make it yes, and they're going up there.
yeah.
Well, they'll take the money, they don't have any.
Well, I mean, if you
I
you
know.
can't sleep, read these minutes. But yeah, so I mean, it's good that they're informing us, keeping us informed. All right, so moving on, public comment. Does anyone have any public comment that they want to bring up? Yeah, go ahead, Steve. Yeah, sure.
I think when Jen mentioned to me about tonight's meeting
Sure.
and the subject and the questions she was gonna ask.
Yep.
And I wanted to come because I saw it as kind of a foot in the door for something that I think this community, I would like to see this community think about. and that is updating its master plan. I think Doug was on the right track here tonight when he started talking about, you know, how do we get from here to there to what, you know, we know what we think we know what we want as a community. How do we get there? And, you know, I've read our master plan. It's 11, soon to be 12 years old. It's very, in my opinion, generic. It's very typical. It's a typical master plan. You know, protect natural resources, that's the goal. Maintain rural character, that's the goal. Protect the historic character of the community. Every community says that in the master plan. What's important, though, is to go out in the community every 5 years, 10 years, and go beyond that. So that's what I think. It's something we, as a community, we need to think about looking at again. Identifying the goals and objectives, but then taking that next step and what are the step A to get to? And, you know, we want to protect natural resources. Well, what does that mean? And put it in the plan that we want a watershed study, that we want a septic ordinance, for example, if that's what the community wants. And then it's very easy for the staff, the regional planning agency, and the boards to follow that plan in those very specific steps to get to where the community wants to go. And so I would just, you know, so I'm just suggesting that perhaps we as a community think about getting serious about updating the master plan and where we really want to go. You know, I hear everybody sitting here tonight and say, we want the community to kind of stay the same, but you know, just sitting here and doing nothing, it's gonna change.
Right.
So we're gonna get bowled over if we don't protect ourselves. And, you know, economic development, for example. Okay, the community doesn't want factories or the big box buildings, but most businesses in the country are small businesses. And how can we attract those small businesses? I'm fairly new in the community. I love a couple of bars we have. I love the hardware store. But you know, I think there's a lot of opportunity downtown still for these little shops and little businesses and things like that. How do we promote that? And that's what a master plan can do. And so that's just my 2 cents.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Appreciate that.
Sure.
Thank you very much. Tom, do you have anything?
I do just quickly,
Sure.
I'm here obviously in case the board decides that they're gonna talk about short-term rentals again. I guess, you know, it's been 3 months since it was brought up at the very tail end of a planning board meeting. And, like I said, I'm just gonna ask, for potential consideration that if the board is going to take that topic up, it appears on the agenda.
Yeah.
So that I know whether to,
Yeah.
while I enjoy spending Thursday evenings twice a month with you guys, that I know whether to attend
Yeah.
or not.
So why don't we,
Is there something-
yeah, so why don't we put that on the next agenda, and we'll round back with that. I hope Dave will be here for that discussion, but he is, if he's not, he's not. For awareness, I did have a conversation with somebody from Bella Lake, earlier this week, around, they had some questions about short-term rentals, and so they see that on the agenda, they may be here to talk about it, so.
Okay.
Yeah. Does that make sense?
It does, kind of refresh my memory.
So essentially, like, I think what the board was, I can't speak for the board, right, but I think what we were looking to do is at the very minimum, put in that short-term rentals are allowed.
Correct.
You know, that might be full stop, or it might be some other, potential,
Yeah, I know
zoning
we
ordinance.
talked about it, but I don't think we,
No, you have not done anything since then.
right.
Other than, I think
They were
I
just
think in
put
your
it in.
notes, you had, the inclusion of that as a line item.
Correct.
But nothing beyond that.
It's interesting.
addressed in a couple of sets of minutes, you know,
Yeah.
had discussions. Not for just putting that in, no regulations.
Oh, it's state regulated.
Sure.
Yeah.
And that could be what we do.
And we
Right,
get
but I
a
do
permit.
think I think it's worth putting it out on the agenda and having maybe just a short discussion
And
about
what
that.
we hear from the board, yeah,
Yeah.
make a decision.
Jen, what about the amendments that we had talked about? What's the timelines on those? We should probably put forth those to, our town attorney for review. And then should we be scheduling those hearings at this point?
Yes, we should. We don't have to schedule them like today.
Yeah.
However, so, right, so Doug, you and I had talked about, at the next meeting, bringing it all back.
Yeah.
So all of the items that we've talked about thus far, at this point, I need to package them with the
Okay.
warrant article language,
Yeah.
followed by the draft amendment.
Okay.
I've figured out that structure. I'd like to look at if we can bundle some of them
Sure.
together, just to not have an overwhelming number of warrant articles.
Right.
Need to kind of look at that and see if that's feasible.
Okay.
But yeah, so my goal is next week to make those
Okay.
edits.
Okay.
At that point, I mean, we can send it to legal for review and comment.
Yeah.
We definitely want to bundle.
If we can.
That's been
Right.
our goal for the last
Yeah.
2
I know.
years,
Yeah.
because our warrant our voting paper, I mean, it's,
I know.
it gets too long. And you don't get everybody going through it, so
Right.
you gotta shorten it up.
I know, the challenge is I think some of them are too disparate in their topics to
Right.
be able to bundle them, so I'm just gonna have to look at how to get creative, to make that happen. So, yeah, so, the goal is to bring that,
Okay.
find that draft here, to the next meeting, and from there, and make a vote to send things to public hearing. No, so town
Okay.
meeting,
Yeah.
public hearing.
Right. And, I think everyone knows, like, the number that we're putting forth, like, the state is requiring us to do that. Like, a lot of these are not, it's not, our decision necessarily.
Oh,
Right? So we'll do our best to try to make it as concise as possible, right? But unfortunately, like, some of the stuff we don't have control over. Yeah, go ahead.
Because I have a question for you, Jen. So I saw, I was reading about some rumbling about, class 6 roads. That if people were to build on them, that town municipalities would have to maintain them?
No.
Is that correct?
That is not correct.
And that there's a representative going around meeting with towns,
And what?
and meeting with towns? No?
There's some changes around class 6
Yes.
roads, and I think it says that as an individual property owner, if you own a piece of property, that I think it states that you are by right allowed to build, and you would need to sign a waiver to say that you would not be holding the town liable if that road is not up to snuff and fire and rescue couldn't get up.
That's it, the building permit releases, that I do
Yeah.
every 2 weeks.
Does that help? Does that answer? There is those still regulations that we have that if someone were to subdivide on a class 6 road, that there would be requirements for upgrades to the road. So if somebody has only one lot, they can build on that, but I think subdividing that to create more than one house is kind of goes back to what I think we required before that change. At least how I interpret it. Anything else, Jim? All right, we have approval of minutes on the agenda, so from October 2nd.
It was not.
Charlie, myself, who else? Steve. We may want to table this one. I mean, we can technically
We all can vote on it.
We can.
Yeah, legally, because we've done that many
Yeah,
times.
okay, all right.
We take, we did research that.
Yeah.
too.
You're here,
Okay.
so you could,
You can all vote on that.
Yeah, that's
we
like
can all
an
vote.
If you'd rather.
So I'll make a motion that we approve the October 2nd minutes as written.
Second, as someone that was here.
Okay, any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. All right, next meeting date is November 20th. Now, just before we adjourn, just for awareness, I did ask to be put on the selectmen's, agenda for November 18th. I wanna go and talk to Charlie and your other board members about, a septic system ordinance, in the waterfront district. I've come before to selectmen and talked about that probably a year and a half ago. I do have some other things I wanna talk about that might make it easier to administer. There's also a different board makeup, now than there was before, so, gonna have a conversation.
Come on, man.
All right, motion, anyone care to make a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second? All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, thank you, everyone.
I won't be at the next.